Hey, shalom everyone. So glad you all could make it. Shalom Troy, Gary, Brenda, Gentle Quiet Woman, Tet, Betty, Julie, Servant of Hashem, Mintat Assassin. All right. And for all of you who aren't in the chat, welcome to you all. So glad you're here. This is our Hebrew immersion teaching ministry with the goal to get everybody confident with biblical Hebrew, ready to swim and truly be Yisrael, wrestling with the text, wrestling with the divine. So let's see. So we're still not doing the comic book, and I will show you why. Tonight we're starting chapter 23. So you can see the picture real quick. There it is, Moshe, he's humped over, and it's just, just like that. And we probably won't do more than 7 verses anyway, so there's just that, all right? So I think it's better in these cases to read from an actual Hebrew Tanakh. Let's see. Okay, chapter 23. There we are. All right. Just want to take a moment and show some gratitude to the Lord. I'm so grateful how things are working out, how he broke us out of that terrible shadow ban that we had for a long time on this channel. I mean, there was a while where we were so locked down we could only get 1 subscriber a month. Can you imagine? And I'm so grateful that we're past that now. We're moving. I know sometimes I express concern about how we're being held back, but I want to focus on the positive. I'm very grateful that you guys who are faithfully attending also, you're here. I love to see the growth. When I hear from you guys that you're feeling much more confident with the Hebrew and you're understanding a lot and you're surprised how much you understand, that's just wonderful. So let's just say a quick prayer of gratitude. Our Father and our God, our King, we are so grateful before you. Please send your Holy Spirit that we may study well in your sight tonight. Oh, baboker hazeh, or in this morning. Please fill my lips that I may only speak what you want. V'gam tiftachet pihem, also open up their mouths. Kol talmudai, b'she'elot tovot, with good questions. V'chol hadivrim ha'ile nachnu nevechecha b'schut Yeshua HaMashiach. All these things we give you praise and glory for by the merit of our Rabbi Yeshua HaMashiach. All right. Shalom Alec. Oh, yeah. Shalom Michael and Stephen. You made it. So let's go. Here we are, chapter Kaf Gimel, that's 23. And it says, Lo tisa shema. Shav. Actually, this says shave, because usually it's shav, but it got lengthened here. Okay, let me turn that off. I put my computer on focus mode, and it just wanted to give me an alarm to let me know that focus mode is done. All right. Lo tisa shema shave. Okay. Lo, not. Tisa is from Nasa Shalom Ani. Notice I'm not recording locally. Lo tisa, not tisa. You shall not. The verb is nasa. Nasa. You see the daggesh in the scene? It's telling us this is a special pei nun verb. If you hear the term pei nun, that's just the Hebrew way, the traditional way to refer to a verb that starts with the letter nun as its root letter, right? So the first letter is nun. So those kind of verbs at nun, he'll either hide in the next letter or he'll go away completely. Right, so here it's hiding in the scene. That's why we have that strong dagesh. So we would have expected in ancient times, before the Bible, to have tin-sa, right? But it became tisa. So nasa, this has been one of our Hebrew words of the day. If you remember, I have a rocket carrying stuff up. You think about NASA, carry stuff up into space, right? Nasa, to carry, right, or to bear. The tav at the beginning should make you think of ata. Shalom, Brooke! The tav makes you think of ata, you. So lo, not tisa, you shall lift up. Shema. Now, you don't know this word, but you know other words that are like it. So this one should be kind of a fun one to memorize. So, for sure, you know, we say every day, twice a day, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, right? So we say Shema, but that's a bit different. That's Shema. That's an imperative, a command. Hear, or listen, or obey. O Israel, Hashem is our Lord, Hashem is one. But here, this is a noun, a Shema. A Shema is something that you hear. It's a report. It's a rumor, right? So, lo, not, tisa, you shall nasa, you shall carry up, a shema, a rumor. What kind of a rumor? Shav. Usually this would be shav, but because it's got the etnachta under there, he's becoming a little bit special, right? So, shav means what? Empty, right? If you remember the Aseret Debarot, the Ten Commandments, I know some of you recently have been working to memorize them. Oh, I just want to point out, look at Michael. I was thinking, why is his status green? And it's got the little aleph next to it. That's because Michael has joined the channel. Mazel tov, you're the first one. It's very cool. So you got the aleph next to your name and you got the green color. Very cool. I was like, my brain was like, something's going on. Something's different. Why is there a green color there? Okay, sorry. So in the Ten Commandments it says, Lo tisa, you shall not lift up or bear et shem Hashem Elokecha lashav. You shall not lift up or bear the name of Yod-He, Waw-He, Elokecha, your God, lashav, right? Emptily. It's usually translated vainly, but this is just a King James tradition. It's a Victorian English tradition, right? Nobody knows what it means to do something in vain, right? It means like without purpose, right? Without there being a real reason for it, right? And it shouldn't be, but I'm teaching. I said God's name because I'm teaching. Yeah, that doesn't count. Okay? His name is holy. All right? So you have a similar pattern here. Lo tisa, something. Instead of et Hashem Elokecha, it's shema, a report. What kind of report? Shav, an empty report, right? It's a false rumor, right? Al, okay, al is a synonym to lo. Al means don't, right? Look, it's just lo backwards. Lamed aleph, aleph lamed, okay? Don't, tashet, yadecha. Okay, so here, okay, we'll count it. Al tashet, yadecha im rasha, lichyot eid chamas. Okay, so this verb is kind of hard to recognize if you're not used to it. It's, okay, I got to say it right so you don't think I'm saying a bad word. Okay, now pretend that I am not speaking this with a Russian accent. Sheet. Okay. I'm sorry. Sheet. Okay. So al tashet is sheet. Shin yod tav. It's a hollow verb. It's got the yod in there. And oftentimes, when you have three root letters and the third root letter, the second letter is a yod, just like the vav, it'll disappear. Those are called hollow verbs. They're hollow in between the first and the third root letter. So the yod is gone here. Okay. Lo, the ta is you, just like the ta over here is you. So al, not, t, you, shet, that's the sheet. You shall not set or place yadcha. So yad, we have, this is yad. Actually, I should go over here. Oh, I thought it'd be under it. Hold on. Sometimes I just really want to do this. There. Yad, your yad. Yeah, there it is. This thing of cha will do like hieroglyphs. Don't place this thing. Oh, look at this. The camera's got that weird thing. Oh, you can see the side of my studio. Oh, no. All right, back to safety. Of your hand, don't place your hand, aim, with, and we've had this, right? We have the Hebrew word of the day. With, that's aim. With, rasha. Rasha. Rasha means wicked. Wicked, right? A person who is ra is probably rasha. There's, I think one of the, it's in the Siddur, there's a prayer that says, the rasha ra, like the evil wicked ones. Aim with rasha, the wicked. Even though there's no ha here, it's an abstract concept, right? So we can say ha in English, we can say the in English. Hold on, my PowerPoint is still up, that's bothering me. Go away. Okay. It makes me feel like, there's another PowerPoint up. Okay, there. Now they're gone. Okay. Lichyot. Now this is an infinitive. It's expressing what you might be placing your hand with the wicked. So hand, it can have this meaning of portion even, right? Portion, or like a lot, right? But I'm going to be literal. We'll just say hand. Aim with rasha, the wicked. Lichyot means to be. Remember, whenever you want to say the English infinitive, which is to and then the verb, to run, to jump, to smile, to laugh, to kill, to cry, to skydive, etc., then we put the lamed in front of the verb in Hebrew, and then we make it into the special infinitive form. Now, if it's a lamed hey verb, which means the third root letter ends in a hey, then it becomes ot at the end. So, for example, ra'ah is to see. Ra'ah is literally he saw. And then if I want to say to see, I say lir'ot, right? Paneh is to turn, is he turned. Lifnot is to turn, right? And then haya is to be. Haya or lo haya. Sorry. Then lichyot is to be. Lichyot or lo lichyot. Zot hashe'ela. This is the question. Aid. Don't confuse it with ad. Aid means a witness. A witness. Hamas. So you know the terrorist group in that was democratically elected by the Arab folks over there in what they call Palestine? That group is Hamas. That's who they elected. You know, it's an internationally recognized terrorist group. And Hamas in Hebrew means violence, or it means injustice. So when you read the story about Noah in Genesis 6, about Noah, it says that the world was filled with Hamas. So that could either mean it was filled with violence or injustice. Right? It doesn't mean that it means both those things at the same time. You just have to decide which one is the meaning there. Okay? All right. Any comments or questions? How you guys doing? All right, I'm seeing on my end 23 views and 11 likes so far. All right. We can get that up. By the way, I just wanted to say, so some of you send support for the ministry, and I really appreciate that. If that's you, please don't feel obligated to watch the commercials. All right, I don't want to be legalistic about that, right? The commercials, they come, they go. If you're already sending something, well, that commercial is going to give us like 3 cents or something, or 4 cents. So you've done your duty, okay? The rest of you who are slackers, I'm just kidding. Watch my commercials. All right. Okay. Verse bait. Lo tihyeh. And I'll translate that since we have to turn the page and go the page. I don't want to be flipping back and forth. So, lo, not tihyeh. So tihyeh, it's again this verb here, haya. So the tav makes you think of you, right? So lo tihyeh, you shall not be, or you shall not become. Gentle, quiet, laughing. All right, so let's. But really, you're off the hook. If you sent us something, you don't have to watch the commercials, okay? It's the least I could do. Okay, good. Okay, how am I gonna? All right, let's. We'll put Hebrew Gospel of Matthew under there. See if that'll. There we go. Is that? It's still not. Okay. Another book under there. All right, I think that looks good. Ah, it moved. Did it move? The page is coming. Okay. Let me, all right. Shazam. Lori says, I like learning trope. Toda. Ah, you're very welcome. I just wish that My tradition was a prettier tradition, you know. So, all right. Acharei. Okay, so it said, Lo tichye acharei rabim leraot. You shall not be acharei, after, like going after, rabim. So this is interesting. You can probably guess this word, even if you don't know what it means. So the root is rav, right? And surely you've seen this before. I mean, what do you say? How do you say thank you very much in Hebrew? Not in biblical Hebrew. In modern Hebrew, you say todah rabbah. In biblical Hebrew, todah is a different meaning. In biblical Hebrew, a todah is a thanks offering. It's an actual gift to the Lord, right? That's what a todah is. In modern Hebrew, it just means thanks, right? In biblical Hebrew, we would say modeh, right? Like this, modeh. But anyway, so todah rabbah. Todah, a thanks. What kind? Rabbah. I wonder if they went that way out of Yiddish. A shaman dank. A dank is thanks in Yiddish. Shaman is like a lot. Anyway, so rabbah, it's like many, right? Many. Okay, so what do you think this could mean? Maybe I'll even leave it, unless I see somebody write it, yeah? And we will come back to it. But I'm trying to show you that the more you get into the Hebrew, the more freebies you get, right? I like to call these like freebies, when you get a word for free, right? It doesn't happen as far as cognates with English goes that often in Hebrew. Like if you study some European language, you're going to get a lot of freebies. There's a whole lot of words that are similar to English, right? You know, like in Russian, computer. Gee, what could that mean? You know, so you get some freebies. We don't get a lot of freebies that way with biblical Hebrew, with classical Hebrew. But we do get them once you've learned some stuff. Once you've learned a core amount of stuff, your knowledge suddenly starts to just explode outward, like logarithmically to grow, right? Because you know a root, or you know one word, and you start to see other words from the same root, and in a certain context, especially as you start to get used to the immersion that we're doing, you'll see there's Hebrew parallelism, all this stuff will come together that you're going to get free words. I think it's fair to say that as you become as you become used to. I was thinking to say accustomed or used to, and my brain said I used to. So I made a new word. As you become used to the patterns that we're seeing, right? You could call it grammar if you like. Some of you like to learn the grammar, but others you can just recognize the patterns. As you become accustomed to the patterns, and you know this core amount of vocab, keep doing the Hebrew word of the day that we're putting out there, okay? It's now available in many languages. You know, I keep, not all of them, I'm working back trying to fix it. So if you're one of our European viewers or an Asian viewer, viewing from Korea or Japan or whatever, then I'm painfully putting the subtitles so they line up nice with the Hebrew pronunciation and stuff on the word of the day. So you can select subtitles in your language. This was thank you to our Brazil viewers, by the way. They were really wanting the subtitles in Portuguese. So if you're doing that, you're going to get this core group of words that are so frequent. And because they're so common, well, you're also going to see other words that are related to them that are from the same root. And so the freebies, once you know the grammar, once you recognize the patterns, and you have a core group of a few hundred words, you're going to have like 5 times that much knowledge, really. It just explodes. Hebrew is so orthogonal. It's so nice. A lot of it's very predictable. Not always, but a lot of it's very predictable. And it's exciting. So if you're struggling and you're trying to decide, should I stick with it or should I stop now? My advice is stick with it, because you're not just getting like linear returns on your knowledge, right? What's going to happen is you're kind of going like this. Like I said, it's logarithmic. And then suddenly, sorry if you're not a math geek, and then suddenly it's going to go like this, like almost straight up. There's a vertical asymptote. You're just going to, boom, hit that. So consider. It's really, the dividends will really pay off if you just make sure, though, to be doing those Hebrew words of the day that we have here or if you have like a book that has the frequency list, that's fine as well, right? Just hit those high frequency words. I want you to know every word that occurs more than 80% of the time in the Hebrew Bible, okay? We're shooting to have it done by September next year. All that vocabulary strong and firm. Hey, Shalom Devorah. Yes, Devorah. It's in Spanish also. Yeah, at least the last week and a half worth of words, and I'm working back. I'm trying to get a few more added, backtracking every day. So if you start with the ones in this week and start working back one a day, then yeah, it's in Spanish as well, in Spanish. Absolutely. Doing Spanish, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Tagalog, which is the predominant language in the Philippines, I mean, other than English. Russian, Ukrainian, we're putting it in German, Yiddish. You might laugh, but there's some Yiddish speakers that aren't good at biblical Hebrew. Various flavors of Chinese, Indonesian, Italian, French, Hungarian. So anyway, if your language isn't there and you're watching this, leave me a comment down below and request it if you're serious, and I'll backtrack and start going to add that language in there too, okay? And if even in English, if you put the subtitle on in English when you're learning the word, you'll see that when I say the Hebrew word, I transliterate it with the letters, and we're trying to make it that way in all the other languages too. So like in Russian, you see it with Cyrillic. It doesn't always work because I'm using automatic translation, and then I'm also kind of going through and tweaking things. And sometimes I just don't have time to tweak it all, and I can let it be automatic for now, you know. But still got to go through and set up every language. So, all right. So maybe that'll help you in English as well, to see it written with English letters, how to say the word. So I was doing colors before. Like I was putting the Hebrew word in teal, and then like the English translation in yellow, you know. But YouTube is kind of weird. Like it didn't always work. And I found I can get a little bit obsessive compulsive about these things. And I was spending way too much time. Okay, you know what? The subtitles are going to be white, guys. That's it. At least until we're a bit bigger in our channel. All right. Continuing. So, lo tihi acharei rabim. You shall not be after the whatever this word is. It's a noun from the root rav that means like a lot or many. I'll give you a hint. There's another word. There's ravin, which is a special kind of rain that's so heavy. It's so much rain that, like, you know, your hand, you can't see your hand in front of your face when it's coming down that heavy. Gary says, does Google Translate recognize transliteration? Not always. That's what's annoying. A lot of times it does. I found what I did, I make a tag. I say Hebrew and I do the tag and then quote, and then I write how to say it and then quote. And a lot of times it does pick it up. But I noticed when I pay more attention going through looking at all the transliterations, sometimes it does not. Sometimes it'll still be like it's in Russian, still got English letters. I'm like, what is going on? And then if I pull it out, just that, and then put the quotes, then it'll pick it up. I can copy, paste, put it in, you know. Yeah, and also, I'm not sure if it's getting the description on the description of the video. So some of those I've been going through and manually doing as well, the description, the title, all that stuff. And I noticed that a lot of times, Google Translation, it'll crap out like on the title because there's a Hebrew embedded and it gets kind of confused when the actual Hebrew's embedded. So, yeah. But anyway, we're continuous improvement. We're working to improve. We'll get there. We'll get there. All right. By the way, if you want to kind of watch some videos in Hebrew, I've been telling people for about, I don't know, half a year or a year now, the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon, they have Hebrew audio. Granted, it's modern Hebrew. It's not biblical. How cool would that be? But they have Hebrew audio and Hebrew subtitles. So you can turn it on and listen to the Hebrew audio and see the subtitles if you like, you know. Or you can just put the Hebrew subtitles like, what is it I'm watching now? This is I'm watching Dr. House. That's my kind of relaxed show. I watch House. And I like to have Hebrew subtitles on the bottom. That's kind of cool. They don't have the audio on that one, but Amazon's really got like almost any language you can watch the new Lord of the Rings in it. So the series. So anyway, if you're interested, over here, I don't know if it's worth it for those of you in America. Over here in the Philippines, Amazon is like $3 a month. You know, so it's not too bad. I thought that was funny, Brenda. I thought it was funny. Ah, great. Gary wrote, Hayakarshali. He wrote my precious in Hebrew. That's cute. Very nice, very nice. That was good. All right, all right. Although, yeah, I don't think we have Golem yet in this one, but maybe he'll come along soon. Yeah, not the movies. It's the new series. They're spending $2 billion on it over at Amazon, so I love it when Hebrew gets added. I've been trying to improve my Yiddish, and nobody does Yiddish. Nobody cares about Yiddish. It's nowhere. So it's kind of, so please, if anybody's seeing this and you see something in Yiddish, like there's a nice movie in Yiddish or something, please let me know, because I'd really like to get better at it. You know, I have this kind of, yeah. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. Okay. Lira'ot. Oh, maybe I'll just tell you. Nobody said the answer. So, Rabim, Omentet Assassin says, is the word evil? Evil is ra. Right? We had that in the Hebrew word of the day yesterday. Right? It's ra. Evil. Evil. Right? Okay? Rabim means a crowd or a multitude, right? A multitude. So, do not go achari, do not be achari after rabim, the multitude, lera'ot. Oh, you're saying this word. Maybe when I was saying this word, the pointer drifted. Yes, you're right. This is the verb to do evil, though. It's to do evil. Yeah, it's to do evil. To do to ra'ot, to do evil. Yeah, very nice. Very nice, Mentat Assassin. Good. Yeah, see, so look, Mentat got this word for free because he did the Hebrew word of the day yesterday, or you might have known it already. And I didn't have time to put it in my 60-second short, but usually when I teach a class and I go to the word evil, there's a nice way to remember it. It's interesting. I used to study hieroglyphs, like Middle Egyptian, right? And it turns out that the sun god, Ra, it's also spelled with a R and an ayin, but it's the Egyptian ayin, of course, right? But you know, it's right next to Israel. It's a Hamaritic language, but it has a lot of stuff similar with Hebrew. A lot of the suffixes at the end of words are the same in ancient Egyptian. So anyway, I was thinking a long time ago, I realized this. I was like, oh my gosh, how interesting that our word for evil was the name of the Egyptian sun god. Can you imagine? That's his name. At least the consonants are the same. I know some modern texts, they say that it's right instead of ra, but still it's reish ayin. That's really something, right? So could you imagine like trying to convert an ancient Israeli to the Egyptian religion? The name of your God is evil, dude. You know, it's like, you're not tricking me. It's kind of like trying to tell a Jewish person that the Sabbath has changed to Sunday, right? If they know Hebrew. Like trying to tell an Israeli that the Sabbath changed to Sunday. Dude, it's called Shabbat. It's the name of the day. It's the only day that has a name. All the other days have no name. You're telling me that the name changed? So it's even harder to convince someone in Hebrew of these kind of theological errors. You know, so, all right. Velo ta'aneh al, pardon me. Velo ta'aneh al riv lintot acharei rabim lehatot. Velo, and not ta'aneh. So anah is to answer. The tav is you. So lo, not ta'aneh, you shall answer. Al, we got to be kind of flexible with this word. The base meaning is upon, right? Upon. But it can mean with, okay? Riv, this word, I'm sorry, it's from a different root from this one, even though they look related. I don't know if it was chosen, like if the Holy Spirit had it put in here because of the similarity, right? So maybe it's easier to remember the command. But a riv is a dispute, a quarrel. Like in the psalm that says, oh Lord, you know, argue my arguments, you know, fight my fights for me. It's this word. This is the quarrel, right? A quarrel. But in a legal context, it's a dispute, like a legal dispute. So al ta'aneh al riv, you shall not answer or like give deposition with a legal dispute. Lintot achrei rabim. Nata is the verb here. Nun, tet. Hey, shalom Frank in Thailand. Hey. Okay. Nata is to twist. Not really to twist, I'm sorry, that's nite. It's to bend, right? It can also mean like to kind of turn like that a bit, right? So, because it ends in a hey, the infinitive form, like I said before, becomes ot, lin tot, right? So, to bend, acharei, after, rabim, this word again, after the majority, or after the multitude, right? So don't join a legal dispute bending after the majority, lehatot. Now this is from the same verbal root. This one is kal, we call it. It's the basic meaning from the root of the word, right? Okay, kal. This one is actually from the hifil. That's why the hey is there, right? So it means to cause it to bend, which means to pervert, like to bend justice. You understand? So How should I tell this? Yeah, I was going to tell the story. Okay. I have a dear friend who was on jury duty one time in Texas, okay? And he was a young man, and on the jury, there was the issue was just deciding the punishment for somebody because the guy pled guilty, right? So for those of you who are not Americans, hey, Shalom Elizabeth, I just saw you there. Sorry I missed you before. So in the States, if you plead guilty and you don't make everybody waste their time, then you're supposed to get a reduced sentence, like a little bit less punishment, right? Because you're owning up to it, So anyway, this guy, he had never been in jail before, and he had a drug problem. He was a meth user, right? And so he pled guilty. But what had happened was, then an undercover police officer went over to bust his drug dealer, right? And he was at the drug dealer's place buying drugs. And the drug dealer got something on his page or whatever and handed the guy some drugs and said, could you carry this down to the swimming pool and give it to the guy down there? Well, it was an undercover police officer. So this guy got busted, not for being a drug user, but for delivery of a controlled substance, which means drug dealer, okay? And it was very clear that he was not a drug dealer. So the jury had one juror who was very strong, had been in many trials, and her brother had a drug problem. And so she wanted to punish this guy for her brother's drug problem. She wanted to throw the book at him. And the guy, the deal that he had worked out with his work, he was a welder, right? The deal he had worked out with his work was if he doesn't go to prison, then he can have his job. He can keep his job. But they don't hire felons, right? So if he goes to prison a single day, that's it. And this guy was like great at paying his child support. He had character witnesses from friends he helped when they were down on their luck and all this stuff. And again, it's only to decide punishment. The punishment, the maximum was up to $10,000 fine and up to 10 years in prison. So this head juror, she wanted to throw the book at this guy. 10 years in prison plus $10,000 fine. Can you imagine? Someone who's got a problem, first offense ever, who pled guilty. So this friend of mine said, no. We are not sending this guy to jail. Not sending him to jail. And all the other people were against him. You're wasting our time. You're making us stay. I can't believe you're doing this. Blah, blah, blah. You're just so young. What do you know? Because he was young in his 20s, but a professional. And, but he held his ground, and he ended up negotiating he felt bad about it, but for the maximum fine, $10,000, which is like 30 years ago. That's a lot of money, right? Back then. It's still a lot of money. And anyway, so that he did what this says. And he was a Jew, too. He was a Jew. So he did what this says, right? So he didn't go after the majority just because they were peer pressuring him. And thanks to that guy, this fella didn't go to prison. He didn't lose rights. So, he didn't, all this stuff. He got to keep his job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all right. Okay. Verse Gimel. That's 3. V'daha lo techda berivo. Okay. Now this is interesting. This is where the Torah really just has so much wisdom. And dal. Dal means like thin, emaciated, right? And in context it means poor. So a poor person, lo, not techda. You shall not give extra honor, treat with preference. Be, in, riv. So this is the same word as here. See, here it's spelled defectively. That's why I read it riv instead of riv, because I know it's the word riv. And then here we have it spelled correctly. Riv, well, the fuller spelling, we should say. Dispute of O. Be, riv, O. In the riv of O. In the dispute of O. In his dispute. So the Torah is warning us. Don't go with the crowd to be a people pleaser, right? Bending justice. And also, don't side with someone just because he's the poor guy, right? If there's a wealthy man and a poor, they go and they have a court case and they're trying to settle the dispute. You can't side with the guy just because you feel sorry for him for being poor. That's not justice. It's not justice. Verse Dalet. Ki tivga sho oivcha o chamoro to'eh. Okay. Ki tifga shul. Okay. So ki, if or when, tifga. So paga means like to meet, Actually, there's a couple different meanings. It can mean like to meet, to happen across somebody, or if it's followed with bait, it can mean like to fall upon someone, right? Like you're going to attack them, right? So I remember when I learned this years ago, it's still in my mind. I thought of old Pa Ga, right? He's a grandpa Ga. And, and Pa Ga just happens sometimes. You'll be walking around, and there in the field, you happen across Pa Ga. How you doing, sonny? And Pa Ga tells you a story. He's got the wheat sticking out of his mouth. That's old Pa Ga. But if you make him mad, he'll attack you and snap you. He'll Pa Ga fell upon me. And you can imagine getting beat up by Pa Ga. And anyway, maybe that'll help you remember. So the tav is you. So tif ga. So if ki tif ga, you will Pa Ga. You will happen across a shul, which is an ox. Gentle Quiet still thinking about how Amazon's only $3 a month here. Yeah. Sometimes there's advantages to you being in the third world, Actually, I think sometimes it's more. There's a special deal with our service provider, our internet service provider. Okay, this is the word oyev, which means enemy. So, but it changes here with the suffix to say oyev cha. That's the oyev of cha, your enemy. Yes, Naoki got it, exactly. Hey, shalom, Dr. Devera. Glad you made it, achi. And shalom, Naoki. O, or, chamoro. That's the chamor, the donkey of O. His donkey, to'eh. Okay, to'eh. So, to'eh means like wanders, right? If it wanders. The tav is not meaning you. It's part of the verb. The verb is tav, ayin, hey, which is to wander, like to get lost, right? To wander. To'eh, if it wandered. Hashev, teshiyvenu lo. Okay, here we have an infinitive absolute, right? These are the same verbs, right? So this is the hifil form of the infinitive absolute of the verb shuv, sheen, vav, beit. It's a hollow verb, and the middle vav went away. Okay, shuv is to return. And there's a very famous shuvi ami, like return my people, right? The hey at the front tells you it's causative, it's a hifil, so cause to return. Okay, but this one means indeed, and the second one, which is conjugated, is how we will translate. So definitely, indeed, teshiyvenu. The tav means you. That yo gemmed in there is just reminding us that it's a hifil. It's a causative form of that verbal root. You shall return it, lo, to him, meaning to your fellow, the one who owns it. Okay? I need to get a drink. I've gone pretty long without drinking tonight. Bear with me for just a second. Yes, your enemy's donkey. Very nice, Naoki. Verse hey. Ki tirei chamocho sonacha rovetz tachat masaho v'chadalta me'azov lo azov taazov imo. Ki, if, notice we had a big white space, we got another kind of commandment section coming up. If, tirei, so ra'ah, you guys know, ra'ah, not with the I, not ra'ah, like we had up here. This is ra'ah, to be evil. But this one is ra'ah with an aleph. Ra'ah. In ancient times, it would have been ra'ah, ra'ah, ra'ah. Can you hear the little That's the sound the aleph used to make. So ra'ah is to see, the tav is you. So ki, if or when, you, ra'ah, When tirei, when you see, chamor, donkey of sona'acha. Sona is another word for enemy, but it's a little bit nuanced different, right? Oyev is the general word for enemy. Like, that's an enemy, right? Somebody, you can't stand the guy. But sona'acha is literally the hater of cha, your hater. So sometimes the nuance in this one can be that he hates you, but you might not hate him, okay? But generally it just means enemy, right? So you can't count on that nuance. So, sonacha, of your enemy, this kind of enemy. Rovetz. Rovetz is a very special word. I love this word. So, Hebrew, being the language of a shepherding culture, right? A culture of shepherds. Ravatz is something that a lamb does, right? A sheep does. When it feels safe, usually when it feels safe. That might not be the case what's happening here, but it's a special position of the body. It puts its legs underneath itself, and it lays down on its own hoofs, right? You can't do that if you wouldn't do that if you're worried a lion's about to attack, and you got to get up and run real quick, right? Cats do this also. You might see cats sometimes, they put their arms, it's like they're missing their arms, you know. So that's what rovetz means. I don't really know how to translate that in English. I don't think we have one verb for that, right? Hebrew's kind of rich on some of the shepherding stuff. This word, if you've memorized Psalm 23, what does it say? I can't remember that part. Wait, let me think. I think it's yarvitzeni. You guys let me know if I'm wrong. I know some of you have memorized it. Anyway, it's this verb. Ravatz plus ni at the end, right? Yeah, I think it's yarvitzeni. He makes me to ravatz. You see? So he makes me comfortable. Now here, this is one of the exceptions. It's not actually saying, oh, by the way, sin also does this too. In the example with Cain. When God is warning Cain, he says, hey, sin is doing this outside your door. Sin, it's just relaxed. It's relaxed like a sheep. It's not worried about you trying to resist it. It's just, and I think that usually gets translated like crouching down, but he's rovetzing. He's just chilling, right? Just comfy. No, nothing is going to attack him. He feels very comfy. All right. Rovetz, doing that, maybe sitting on his haunches, laying on his haunches. Tachat, underneath, masa'o. Masa means a burden. A burden. Masa is a burden of his burden. So it's too heavy. He went down. V'chadalta me azov lo. Chadal means, it can mean to endure, but it can also mean like cease, like to stop, right? So chadalta means you ceased. V'chadalta means, and you will cease, you will stop, me from azov, abandoning, forsaking, lo, to him. Azov, taazov, emo. And so here we're tweezing out another meaning of the word. Instead of abandoning him, we're saying leaving. And it's another infinitive absolute. Azov, indeed, certainly, ta, you will azov, leave, although literally abandon, imo, with him. You'll abandon the spot with him, with the chamor, with the donkey. Julie says when a cat sits like that, we call it loafing. Okay, great, loafing. I like that. That sounds good. Nice. Okay, we have another big space here. Let's see, 43 minutes. Maybe that's a good place to stop. Not that too bad. Oh, look, and it's Chamishi. It's the fifth Aliyah from whatever Torah portion this is we're in. What is that Torah portion? Mishpatim. Torah portion, Mishpatim. Yeah, this next one's kind of long. Oh, we'll just do Vav. Vav's not so long. I was thinking it was going all the way over here. Okay, we'll do one more. Okay. Lo tateh mishpat evyonecha berivo. Lo tateh. Okay, so remember this was a verb, not ta. It starts with a noon. Jojo Quiet says, keep going. Yes, Troy, he makes me lie down. That's right. Yarbitzeni al mei minuchot, by tranquil waters, right? Waters of stillness. So in ancient times, it would have been tante, okay? Tante. So it's from the ta, the noon one inside the tet. I hope you're starting to become familiar with this pattern here, okay? Lo, not to you, nata is what it was. You shall not cause to bend, right? So you shall not pervert mishpat, the justice of evyon necha. So it's interesting. Up above we had dal, which is like emaciated, which is where we get the idea it can be a poor man, right? He's so poor, back then it wasn't like food stamps and stuff, right? So people very, very thin when they're poor, or in other countries too, right? But now we have a synonym, evyon. Evyon is a needy person, right? So it's interesting. So up above we said, don't join the dal just because he's dal. Don't join the poor guy just because he's poor. But now we have lo tateh mishpat evyon necha. Don't pervert the justice of the evyon of cha, of your evyon, your needy person. We also had oyev, right here, oyivcha, your oyev, your enemy, and then we had sona'acha, your enemy, right? So we have these words that are synonyms, right? So the Hebrew is actually much more interesting to read than just having the same word occurring again and again, okay? Berivo, in the riv of O, in his dispute, right? So you can't join the poor guy just because he's poor, and you also shouldn't pervert justice against him. Okay, he needs his justice as well. So that was verse Vav. We're at 46 minutes. Yeah, we'll go and stop there. Hey, Shalom Yakar. So do you guys have any comments or questions? Give it a second for the delay to get through. If you'd like to support this ministry, I'm going to give the PayPal address at the bottom. In the chat. For a long time, I just noticed the other day I had it in the about. I was wrong. I had paypal.com. It's paypal.me. If you say .me or it won't work. Hebrew literacy. There we go. And you can also join the channel. That also helps us. That's also kind of cool. You get like pretty colors and stuff like that. You get the Aleph next to your name. Okay. Gentle Quiet says keep going. Yeah, I want to, but I'm trying to be disciplined because I know a lot of you guys really like to keep going, and I don't mind to keep going too, right? When I have scheduled Hebrew classes and stuff, I even oftentimes go much longer. It's just I want people later. Many more people watch us later than now live. We've got our handful of you live, committed. I'm glad you're here live. I like the back and forth in the chat, but there'll be a few hundred will watch this, by the end of the week, and part of that is because we don't go an hour and a half or an hour and 50 minutes. I'm concerned that if we go too long, then it turns some people away, right? They're like, I don't really have time to do an hour 15 minutes in Hebrew today, but 45 minutes maybe they'll do. Yeah. So, yeah, Laila Tov. Okay, shalom everybody. Okay, so no questions. So I'll go ahead and end it. You guys